Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be focusing on making this exterior wall shown right here. Okay? And if you look in 3D, you can see that that wall, and I'm talking about the top portion up here, actually has a brick on it. And I'll be teaching you how to make that. So the first thing I'd like you to do is go back to your working view, which we established in our last video. And so once we're in our working view, we're going to get started and make this wall and literally copy it one for one. So a few things I want to share about this is that this portion of Revit can be very overwhelming and complex. So I'd like you to take it slow. If needed on YouTube, go ahead and turn down the speed of this portion of the video, but do it whatever you need to do to make sure that you're gaining clarity. Take breaks, pause, and come back to this video. All right, so I want to show you actually a diagram of how this wall looks like. So if I go to my annotated sheet, again, you won't have this. This is because my project's finished. But do you see here? I drew all of these components. We'll be doing this for extra credit later. But do you see here? This is a section view in plan of all of the elements of my wall. So I have brick, a weather barrier. A weather barrier helps keep moisture out. Then I have rigid insulation. And rigid insulation, think about something like floral foam, but more robust. It helps keep the heat in coolth in our building. And yes, coolth is a technical term used in architecture, Coolth. And then I have sheathing, which is simply plywood. And then I have the sill of my stud wall or base. And then I have my stud walls. And then in the inside, very important, I have what's called a vapor barrier or also vapor retarder. And the word retarder is, or the word retard is meant to slow down, and that comes from like a music term. So to retard in a song is to slow down. So if the conductor asks you to retard at the end of a song, that's to slow down. And so vapor barrier is actually the common term, but the technical term is actually vapor retarder because it actually doesn't stop moisture, it slows that down. And then in the middle, or excuse me, on the end, I have my gypsum wallboard, and that is simply my drywall. Okay, so that's a very brief overview. I won't get into the building science behind this because I could literally spend all day here, but this kind of wall assembly guaranteed will be on your architectural registration exam. As an architect, we are experts in wall assembly and we have these memorized, okay? This is part of who we are, and walls are essential to architecture, so that's something you'll need to memorize. Maybe not this semester, but this is a very brief overview of what a wall looks like. And one thing I want to clarify is that OC means on center, and it's typical to space studs 16 inches apart. And that makes sure that the stud wall has rigidity and just a reliable structure. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to go back to my working view. Okay, so we want to go back to our working view. So go back to your working view, whatever one you established from the last video. And what we'll do is we will literally copy this. So I want you to go up to walls, and then underneath wall, yours won't look like this, but select really any wall type. Let's go with something simple like 10-inch concrete. And I'd like you to draw just a simple wall. And if you notice how my lines are a little thicker, that's because I have my fat lines turned on. Okay? And you can work either way, doesn't really matter. I'll turn them off just so I can see what's going on. And then what I have here, what I can do, is I want to select that wall, then I want to go up to Edit Type, and I want to hit Duplicate. All right? And I want to call this wall type A. So wall type A, and I already have a wall type A, so I can't name it the same thing. Please don't do this. I'm just going to add my name after it to keep it clear what I'm doing. All right, so I have that, and I want to start building the wall. But before I do that, let's click OK. If I click my wall here, you can see that I have my name shown. So I want to actually go here and click Edit Type. Then I want to go to Structure Edit. So right here. Okay, and this portion will be tricky, so please slow down and take as much time as you need to. All right, and then here I have my structure, and I want to change that to a different material. So you can go ahead and copy this one for one. So I click those three dots here, and I let that load, and I'll actually be making a new material. So create new material. All right, and you can see I have my default new material. And what I'll do is I'll go up to identity up here, and I'll change the name of that. And I want to call that 2 by 8 inch wood stud, and then apply. And that's really all I need to do there. And then I change my thickness here. And I want to change this to 7.5. Okay, and that may sound silly because it says 8 inches. However, that's a nominal size. It's actually 7.5 in real life. So I'll change that like this, and I can hit structural material. And then I'll simply begin building my wall. So if I were to hit OK on this, apply, OK, you'll see I have my wood stud. That's all that's there. I'll go up to edit type, and I'll hit edit again on structure. And then let's go ahead and let's add the sheathing that goes on the outside. So if you've noticed, it says exterior side here and interior side down below. So what I want to do is I want to select 2, and then I'll hit insert. All right, do you see this new category here? Click up, and you can see it's out of the core boundary. And that core boundary just simply means that's the stud in our wall. And then here, I want to call this sheathing, so I'm going to make a new material. I'm going to create new material, and I'm going to call that sheathing, just like that. And I hit OK. Oh, I already have that name taken, so I'm just going to call this sheathing 1. And that's okay. I'm working in a finished model, that's why. All right. And then the thickness for that sheathing will be 1/2 inch. Okay, and that looks good. And then my function, I'm actually going to change that to, you know what, actually structure works. So we can call that structure because it actually helps keep the wall together. And what I'll do is, you know, I'll still leave it there even though it's part of structure. But if you want to, you can also move it down. So just for now, I'll keep it in the core boundary since it is technically considered structure. So I actually prefer that you do that just to keep things consistent between everything. And then what I want to do next is I want to include what's called rigid insulation. And what I'll do is I'll hit insert, okay, and then under material, I'll go up, and then identity, I'll change that to 2-inch rigid insulation, and I'll hit OK. All right, and I'll change that thickness to 2 inches, and then you can keep wraps checked. That is just fine. And then for function here, I will change that to thermal layer because that is thermal, provides insulation for us. All right, and make sure to pause to make time to do all these and come back. And then I'll create an additional one, and I'll hit insert. And this one right here, we will call our vapor barrier, or excuse me, we will call our weather barrier. So I'm creating my new material here, create new material. I'm going to call that vapor barrier. I hit OK. I actually already have that, so I'm just going to call mine vapor barrier 1. Vapor barrier 1, that looks great, just like this. Okay, and then thickness is actually 0. I think it literally looks like a shower curtain liner. Okay, that gets essentially pasted on your building, and I'll make that a thermal air layer. Okay, and then after that, I'll have my brick. But oops, I actually made a mistake. Let's go ahead and fix that. This actually is not our vapor barrier. This is our weather barrier. So let me just go in here, create a new material, and I'll fix that. I apologize, that happens. That's Revit. We make mistakes, and so we'll just catch that and fix that and change that to weather barrier. Say OK, beautiful. And then beyond that, I need my brick. And so I'm going to do insert. All right. And then under material, I click the 3 dots again, and I'll create a new material down here, create new material, and I'll call it brick. And I'll hit OK. Oops, I already have a brick, so I'm just going to call mine brick 1. Okay. Beautiful. And then thickness, brick is 4 inches, and wraps is totally fine there. Okay, and then that is a finish. Okay, so I have, and then actually weather barrier, I will change that to membrane layer. And then a few things. So if you need to, make sure to refer back. On Canvas, I have it listed. I show what this wall assembly looks like in diagram if you want to view that. But what I want to do is I want to insert another layer, move this down, and I want to finish my wall here. And then if you remember, I had vapor barrier, so I actually want to get my vapor barrier, okay, and hit OK. And then I change that to membrane layer, okay. And again, this is essentially like a shower curtain, one of those clear shower curtains, so it's 0. Really no thickness here. And then I need my gypsum wallboard, also called drywall, and I'll hit Insert, okay. And what I'll do is I will move that down. Okay, so that gets moved down just like this, and I can change that to finish, and then I will create a new material, and I'll call that um, gypsum WB, gypsum, and that stands for wallboard. Or you can call it drywall. Gypsum wallboard, though, is the correct architectural term that does not refer to a brand, and I believe drywall is a brand. And then the thickness on that is um, 0.5. Okay, so do you see here? I have my gypsum wallboard, my vapor barrier, my stud, my sheathing, and if I go up, I have my rigid insulation, okay, my weather barrier, and I have my brick. And then I can hit OK, apply, OK. All right, and then do you see that? Beautiful. It literally matches what I have down below. If I go in 3D, I can see all of those, I can see like all that thick wall. Beautiful, right? And so there's my wall. And we'll add a pattern in the future, but that's what that should look like for now. And then as you move forward, you'll make 2 exterior wall types, and the only difference for the other wall type that you'll make is you'll add a metal panel. And to do that, you just change this from brick to metal panel. However, incredibly important, you'll want to duplicate your wall type first. So what you'll do is you'll go like this, select your wall, edit type, and then duplicate, and you'll call that wall type B. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.